The Cursed Doll. The Heirloom. The Evans family had always prided themselves on their rich history, with heirlooms passed down through generations. When Aunt Margaret died, the family inherited her sprawling Victorian mansion. Nestled within the quiet countryside, the house exuded a sinister charm that intrigued the Evanses. Little did they know, their inheritance included more than just antiques and old furniture. 7-year-old Isabelle was exploring the attic when she stumbled upon a peculiar porcelain doll. Its blue eyes seemed to glimmer with a life of their own, and its lace dress, though yellowed with age, held an eerie elegance. The tag on its wrist read, "Lydia. Can I keep her, Mom?" Isabelle asked, cradling the doll as if it were a fragile treasure. Her mother, Laura, glanced at the doll, unease prickling her skin, but she smiled. "Of course, honey. Just be careful with her." Isabelle beamed, unaware of the darkness she had brought into their home. Unseen movements. At first, the changes were subtle. Lydia would be in one position when Isabelle went to bed and a different one by morning. Laura dismissed it as Isabelle playing and forgetting. But soon, other strange occurrences began to plague the house. Doors that were firmly closed would be found ajar. Lights flickered, casting unsettling shadows across the walls. Laura's husband, Edward, began hearing faint giggles and whispers at night, always seeming to come from Isabelle's room. One evening, as Edward was heading to bed, he saw Lydia standing at the top of the stairs. "Laura, did you move Isabelle's doll?" he called out. "No, why?" Laura responded from the bedroom. Edward picked up the doll, shivering at its cold porcelain skin. "Never mind," he muttered, placing Lydia back in Isabelle's room. The transformation. Isabelle's behavior started changing. Once a bright and happy child, she grew increasingly withdrawn and irritable. She would have sudden outbursts, shouting at her parents and then apologizing profusely, as if in a trance. "Isabelle, what's wrong?" Laura asked one afternoon after a particularly violent tantrum. "Lydia doesn't like it when you ask questions," Isabelle replied, her voice devoid of emotion. She clutched the doll tightly, her eyes dark with an unsettling intensity. Laura and Edward decided to remove Lydia from Isabelle's room, hoping to break the doll's influence. They locked the doll in a chest in the attic. That night, the house was eerily silent, as if holding its breath. The haunting. The peace was short-lived. Around midnight, Laura awoke to the sound of soft footsteps and a child's giggle. She nudged Edward awake, her heart pounding. "Do you hear that?" Edward listened, his face paling. "Isabelle?" he called out, getting up to check on their daughter. They found Isabelle fast asleep, but Lydia was sitting on the floor beside her bed, her glassy eyes staring directly at them. Edward's hands trembled as he picked up the doll, feeling an unnatural chill seep into his skin. "We need to get rid of this doll," Laura whispered, fear tightening her throat. The research. Determined to understand what was happening, Laura dove into the history of the doll. She discovered that Lydia had belonged to a distant relative named Amelia, a young girl who had died under mysterious circumstances. Heartbroken, Amelia's mother had the doll made in her daughter's likeness, believing that Amelia's spirit would inhabit it. The doll had a dark reputation. Every family that inherited it experienced tragedy, deaths, accidents, and madness. Laura's fear grew as she realized they had brought a cursed object into their home. They contacted Father O'Malley, a local priest known for his knowledge of the occult. "This doll is a vessel for a malevolent spirit," he said, examining Lydia with a grave expression. "We must perform an exorcism." The exorcism. Father O'Malley gathered the family in the living room, surrounded by candles and protective charms. He began chanting in Latin, sprinkling holy water on Lydia. The air grew thick and oppressive, the temperature dropping sharply. Isabelle started to scream, her eyes rolling back in her head. "Leave her alone." A guttural voice emanated from her small body, one that was not her own. "Lydia, release this child," Father O'Malley commanded, pressing a crucifix to the doll's forehead. Lydia's eyes glowed a sinister red, and a violent wind whipped through the room, extinguishing the candles. Isabelle's screams intensified, her body convulsing. "Continue praying," Father O'Malley shouted over the cacophony. Edward and Laura held on to Isabelle, their voices joining in desperate prayer. The doll's face twisted into a grotesque grin, and the house shook as if an earthquake had struck. The confrontation. The battle raged for what felt like hours. Just as they were losing hope, a blinding light filled the room. Lydia let out a blood-curdling scream, and Isabelle collapsed, unconscious. The doll fell to the floor, its eyes returning to their lifeless blue. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, leaving the family in a stunned silence. Isabelle awoke, her eyes clear but filled with tears. "Mommy, I'm scared," she whispered, clinging to Laura. "It's over now," Laura soothed, though she was not entirely convinced. The aftermath. Father O'Malley advised them to bury the doll, encased in a box lined with protective symbols and surrounded by salt, deep in the forest. "This will ensure that the spirit remains contained," he explained. Edward and Laura followed his instructions, burying Lydia under an ancient oak tree. They returned home, hoping to leave the nightmare behind. But Isabelle's recovery was slow. She suffered from nightmares and often woke up screaming, "Lydia's coming back." Despite their efforts, the family's unease lingered. The house seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with the memory of the doll's malevolence. The return. Months passed, and the Evans family tried to move on. Isabelle's nightmares became less frequent, and the house returned to a semblance of normalcy. But one stormy night, Laura heard the unmistakable sound of a child's laughter echoing through the halls. She rushed to Isabelle's room, finding her daughter asleep. But her heart nearly stopped when she saw Lydia sitting on the windowsill, her dress pristine and her eyes glinting with malice. "We buried you," Laura whispered, backing away in terror. Lydia's head slowly turned, her glassy eyes locking onto Laura's. "You can never bury the past," a voice whispered from the shadows. The final battle. Desperate and terrified, Laura and Edward decided to confront the spirit once and for all. They brought Lydia back to the house, setting up a protective circle in the living room. Father O'Malley returned, prepared for a final showdown. As the ritual began, the house erupted in chaos. Windows shattered, and furniture flew across the room. Isabelle stood in the center, her eyes glowing with an unearthly light. "Lydia, you are not welcome here," Father O'Malley shouted, his voice steady amidst the pandemonium. Isabelle's voice, distorted and echoing, responded, "She is mine." Father O'Malley pressed the crucifix to Lydia's forehead once more, chanting louder. The doll's porcelain skin cracked, and a black mist began to seep from it, filling the room with an acrid stench. Laura and Edward held Isabelle, their prayers joining Father O'Malley's. The mist swirled violently, the temperature dropping to freezing levels. With a final, piercing scream, the mist dissipated, and Lydia shattered into pieces. Isabelle collapsed, her body limp but free from the malevolent spirit. Epilogue. The Evans family left the old mansion on Willow Lane, vowing never to return. They moved to a smaller, modern house in the city, hoping to leave the horrors behind. Isabelle gradually recovered, though the scars of her ordeal remained. The family grew closer, bound by the terror they had endured and the strength they found in each other. Lydia's pieces were buried deep in the forest, under the careful watch of Father O'Malley. The story of the cursed doll became a whispered legend, a cautionary tale for those who dared to disturb the past. But on stormy nights, when the wind howled through the trees, some claimed they could still hear the faint sound of a child's laughter, echoing through the woods, a reminder that some spirits never truly rest.
Dear viewers, if you like to watch the scariest horror stories, do subscribe, like and share our channel. Thank you.